Okay. Hi everyone, welcome, good evening, and welcome to the Breaking into Teaching, Becoming a Part-Time Lecturer panel. My name's Michelle Levy, and I'm the Assistant Director of Graduate Business Career Services, or GBCS. I also have my colleague, Marianne Nguyen, who is our GBCS Employer Engagement Coordinator, who is available in the chat if you have any questions. At GBCS, our mission is to support you through your career journey. Current students, we encourage you to schedule an appointment with us through Beach Connect and explore the many tools available on our GBCS Career Resources Canvas site. Alumni, you also have access to our services even after you graduate. And if you'd like more information, please email us at cob-gbcs@csulb.edu. Before we get started, I'd like to mention that tonight's panel is being recorded and we'll have it available afterward on our YouTube channel. And we're very fortunate to be joined this evening by professionals and part-time lecturers who bring a wide range of knowledge and expertise across industries and teaching experiences. And we really do appreciate their time and insight. Here's how tonight will go. We'll have a Q&A session with prepared questions for about 45 minutes. Then you'll have the opportunity to join breakout rooms for more individualized conversations with the panelists. So I do encourage you, please do join the breakout rooms to kind of have more one-on-one conversations. If you do have any questions for the full panel, please leave them until the end of the discussion. So with that, we're going to get started with our panel. First to our panelists, I'm going to have you please introduce yourself, including your name, title, and company, and where you currently teach slash the subjects. So Jade, I'll start with you.
Hi everyone. My name is Jade. I currently am a consultant for E.G. Sanchez in Riverside. I have been teaching about, I want to say 3 years now. Fairly new, but I've been in the industry for almost 18 years. Public, private, state, federal, you name it. Been into the field for a while, and I actually did my undergrad and graduate program from Cal State Long Beach, so this is my home basically. So yeah.
Nice. And what classes do you teach and where do you
Um,
teach?
I am teaching tax accounting in fall and in the master's program, and managerial accounting on the MBA program, and any class available during the time. I also taught undergrad when I started. So
Nice.
yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Kayla, if you don't mind introducing yourself.
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Kayla. I currently teach a decision making and uncertainty course for the Masters of Sustainability in Management and Policy. It's a long, lengthy title there. I also taught at Cal State Fullerton the Introduction to Human Communication Studies, which is the field that I come from, human communication and organizational communication, as well as leadership development and consulting. So I used to teach the Introduction to Human Communication courses as well as public speaking. And I've been teaching since 2021, so 5 years now. It's great to meet you all, and hopefully you'll take away some good insight from our panel today.
Thank you, Kayla. Charles, if you don't mind introducing yourself.
Yes, thank you. Hello, everyone. My name's Charles Byerly. My title is Adjunct Professor of Business and Real Estate, and I do work at four local community colleges, including Citrus, which you see on my logo. I also teach at Chaffey, at Riverside City College, and Fullerton College. And so in the program that I teach, it's been 11 years, and I teach a variety of courses, pretty much most of the real estate program. And then in business management is my focus. So I teach things like intro to business, small business management, international business, things like that.
Nice, thank you. And then you're also in real estate as well.
Yeah, I have I've done some things in my past. I'll be brief, but yes, I do have a broker's license with the California. So I used to have a real estate practice, husband and wife team. My wife has still been in real estate for a very long time, and I do some side transactions in that regard. And before that, I worked in corporate management. I worked for a Fortune 500 company in food manufacturing and also for a local Southern California home improvement center
Nice,
in
thank you.
retail. Yeah.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Catherine, if you don't mind introducing yourself, your experience and teaching experience.
Yeah, hi, I'm Catherine Gutierrez, and I also am a alumni from my MBA and my bachelor's from Cal State Long Beach. I own and operate an agency called the CMO Agency. We specialize in fractional marketing services, specifically for business to business companies between usually 5 and 100 million. And I teach the Marketing 661 class for the MBA students, as well as I'll teach 494 in fall. And I've also taught the 500 class.
Thank you so much. And finally, George, if you don't mind introducing yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Hi there, everybody. My name is George Balderas. I am on the finance team at a company called Jet Zero. It's a Long Beach-based aviation startup based right here at the Long Beach airport. I've been there about 2.5 years now. Very much a startup environment. I have a lot of small business and startup experience kind of under my belt, over the past about 15, almost 20 years now. And over the last 2 years, so the fall of 24 and 25, I have been teaching Finance 300 here at Cal State Long Beach. So introductory to finance for undergrads.
Thank you. So, as you'll see, our panelists have a lot of professional experience in diverse areas, as well as in teaching, some at the community college, some at Cal State Long Beach, other Cal States, undergrad and grad. So we do have a wide variety of experiences. So, my second question that all the panelists will answer is, how did you land your first lecturer role at a community college or CSU? So Jade, we'll go back to you. How did you land that first lecturer role?
Um, I actually have Dr. Krishna right here on the panel, so she can tell you more. I was one of those students in undergrad and even graduate program. It was every single office hour, even on weekends sometimes. I mean, they were tired of me, but I didn't give up because it was as I said, my career and my education was aligning at the same time. So I was very grateful to be able to get the time with them, and literally that opened up so much options when I finished my master's program. And again, Michelle, thank you to you. Without your help, I wasn't probably going to get into the government. It's a whole different ballgame when you come from private sector and a public accounting. So I want to say that's literally all my networking. And I got the option because the undergrad position was open for a tax course, and I literally just jumped in because I was prepared and I mentally was ready, but I just wanted to make sure the timing was right given everything. So that's just how I rolled with the whole, teaching game.
Great. So building relationships while you're a
Yes.
student. Awesome. Kayla, how did you land that first lecturer role?
Yeah, so I forgot to mention I have a full-time job. Teaching is my part-time job. So I'm a part-time lecturer. So I call it my day job and my passion job. But I was fortunate enough to have a graduate program that had what's called a graduate teaching associate position. Basically, you own your own class, you teach it. It's not just like a TA. We were literally doing stuff that like contracted lecturers did for the department, just at a fraction of the cost. But it was a way to get experience and get in the door. So I started that about my like last year of the graduate program. So I taught for about 2.5 semesters, or let's call it 3 semesters total. So 3 semesters total, I taught in the graduate program. And then from there, it wasn't until a year later that I actually successfully landed a part-time lecture role. And it was actually in the department that I graduated from my master's from. So this is all happening at Cal State Fullerton. I did my undergrad there, my graduate program there. I started as a GTA, which is that graduate, or GTA, excuse me, graduate teaching associate. And I applied to that program in a pool. So if you've ever applied and you're interested in a pool is basically where they have all the applicants. You apply, and if and when they have an available position, you may get called up. But we'll probably talk about that in a little bit. Pools, you could be swimming for a very long time while others are called up before you who are not in the pool. So again, we can talk about that later. But then, yeah, so that was how I landed my first teaching role.
Awesome. Thank you. Charles, how did you land your first lecturer role?
In life, everything comes full circle. And I want to mention to the group that I'm also an alumni, both undergrad and graduate from Cal State Long Beach. Cal State Long Beach has opened so many opportunities for me. It was a great decision to be part of this institution. One thing that Career Center Services did was help me get my full-time job working for M&M Mars Candy Food Manufacturing. And it was through their career placement services that I ended up getting in that, which again changed my life as far as career-wise. But in the MBA program that I completed at Cal State Long Beach, we did a lot of networking and we did a lot of group type assignments at the time. Our program was back in the older times. It was on campus. It was in a newly designed building right at the base of parking right there at the bottom of the hill, which was nice. And we didn't have online at the time. We brought our own laptops and did everything in the night program. And I had met people that I went through the course. We did a lot of group projects together, and I made lifelong friends as alumni that I still keep in touch. We meet quarterly, and they have a whole variety of roles in our society. One of them, and again, how it ties into this, right after graduate school, became a tenured professor at Citrus College here, the logo that I'm displaying. And I was approached by my friend and colleague and was asked to come present at their business school. At basically, their business had a club, the business club, and he was the tenured professor there that was faculty for the club. And I gave a presentation on creating a small business using eBay, Amazon. At the time, I had built a small business I had for a few years, retailing from home, and I gave a presentation on that. It turned out by that professor, a few other professors were there, and the dean of the business school was there. So by the time I had completed my presentation, they asked if I'd be willing to come in and talk with them about a part-time position. And that led to becoming faculty there.
Awesome. So networking, taking advantage of opportunities, and you never know what's going to happen with that. So
Yeah, my recommendation for the group again is you never know when you go along in your journey who you went to school with and getting in to what we're doing now. It's like having people already in the field is helpful and giving a helping hand.
yeah, you're networking even when you're in class for
Yeah.
sure. Catherine, how did you land your first lecturer role?
So I really stayed close to Dr. Martin, who was my MBA professor. She was just a fantastic professor, and I really enjoyed the relationship that we built. I would categorize myself as a classic nerd. I really loved what I was doing and learning, and so I was really focused on getting good grades and just understanding and knowing the subjects. So when I left, I went full into regular work. And then I want to say about 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I was asked to participate in a panel discussion, very similar to the same kind of panel discussion we had had when I was in my own cohort. And that led to me kind of engaging with other faculty and students. And then I had the chance to join the AMA program and just come and kind of help and support. And that eventually led to when Dr. Martin had a conflict with her schedule. I think Sam had reached out to me from the program asking, "Hey, would you like to take this class?" And I was so excited. So, yeah, that's my story.
Awesome. Thank you. And George, how did you land your first lecturer role?
Yeah, so I think that I'm definitely seeing or hearing a common thread, and I'm going to be, at the risk of reiterating what everybody else is saying. It was all networking. So I also got my MBA at Cal State Long. While I was there, I got to know all of my professors very well, like very similar stories to what everybody else said. Just continued to get to know those professors, got to know the department chair, got to know all the folks that were teaching us all of the material that we were going through. And once I finished and graduated, I kept coming back doing just kind of like guest lecturing stuff, coming in and talking to students in classes, undergrad, grad students. I'm a finance guy, so I was very involved with like Beach Investment Group, with the conference, the Beachfin Rising that Pio Gupta, the department chair, former department chair, was putting on. Just helped to administrate all of that stuff and stayed active within the community, and always just kind of put my foot forward and said, hey, now that I have my master's, if there's an opportunity to teach, I'd love to go ahead and do that. Took a couple years to do, but that's basically how it worked. One semester they called me up and they said, hey, we've got an open spot. Pia called me and said, would you like to teach this class, take this class on for the fall? And I said, absolutely. So
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah. So yeah, definitely that common thread of like networking, getting involved as a student, letting your professors, faculty, staff, everyone kind of know who you are, what you're interested in, taking advantage of opportunities. Is definitely, and Kayla also mentioned like the pool as well. Like that's a way to get in, but it might be a little bit harder without building those relationships. So thank you all for sharing that experience. So, what qualifications or experience are typically required to become a lecturer? So, Charles, if you'll maybe talk a little bit about this, what qualifications or experience is typically required to become a lecturer?
Yeah, in my experience, and again, I'm looking at it from the focus of community colleges. Basically, and also too in the business division. Obviously, by division, qualifications may be different, but as an overall theme that they're looking for generally is a master's degree in your specialization. Not necessarily a PhD, especially at community college. That's a plus, but it's not required. But an MBA typically, there are some specializations in some other areas and other departments that may just have field training experience certification. But for the business department in MBA, in the specialization you want to teach in would be important. Since I'm also in real estate, it was a big plus that I had a broker's license. And then when it comes to experience, they do want to, you can come straight out of the MBA program and start being a part-time lecturer. That's not a problem. But they do also add value when you're able to demonstrate you've had some career experience. So if it also relates to your specialization, even better. So things like that. And for me, my undergraduate and MBA was focused on management, and I had management positions. So it all was aligned, and so when they gave me job opportunities, you're gonna teach in the things that you have, academic and professional experience in.
Definitely, definitely. Catherine, anything to add there in your experience? Like what's needed to become a lecturer?
Yeah, I'd say especially in marketing, the challenge I had when I was doing my undergrad and my MBA is so much of the books and the learning is all about theory. And you really, I'm sure every career is like this, but really in marketing, it's exacerbated because everything we do changes every 5 minutes. The only real value comes from actual hands-on experience. So I think you can't really do the marketing side. I could be wrong, but I think you have to, I think you actually have to have experience in the space, or you have to be able to be doing research or something similar to just make sure that you have that hands-on experience. So for me, I really like to take into my class actual campaigns, actual metrics, budgets, forecasting, like everything that you would really need to do because for whatever reason we don't get that opportunity to learn that early on in our careers. So I think that real hands-on experience is just super, super essential.
Yeah, definitely. I think it adds so much value to the class too when you're talking about things that are happening now versus, 10 years ago or whatnot. So, thank you so much. So, getting the job is the first step. Then once you get the job, prepare it, succeeding in it and having a good experience for the students as well as yourself. So Kayla, how did you prepare to teach your first class?
Yeah, so I'll kind of speak in both positions of teaching. So when I was a graduate teaching associate, we were actually given content from previous graduate teaching associates. So there was like a director of the graduate teaching associates who like guided us through teaching. They didn't really teach us how to teach, I'll be completely honest. We were kind of just thrown in sink or swim, and I couldn't believe they were letting us teach a whole class. It's like, what experience do we have? But again, we were further along in our graduate programs. And so we had that content, subject matter that was really meaningful to it. So that one, I just really had to tailor all of the presentations for what I wanted. When you're giving copy and paste stuff, there's sure value in it because you don't have to start from scratch. But delivering something that is not yours doesn't feel natural. So the way a former professor taught it, the exact class and textbook used is not the way that I would teach it, right? And I would encourage everybody to take on the class as your own. Like that's the purpose. You have the control of your class within certain parameters, of course, but make it your own because I think that's what provides the value. Now, my second teaching experience, I guess, aside from Cal State Fullerton, now at Cal State Long Beach, teaching that decision making and uncertainty course, I was actually approached by a board member of that program who asked me if I knew someone or if I wanted to teach this class called Decision Making and Uncertainty. I had never taught that kind of class before. I've done, again, organizational communication and leadership. And I looked at the syllabus that she sent me and I said, there's no way. This is very methodology focused in terms of like quantitative research, and my background was in qualitative research. And she said, well, hang on, students haven't necessarily clicked with the course material with the way it's been taught before. So we're looking for someone who can essentially revamp this class. So tell us what you can do and give us some samples. And so I revamped the syllabus. I probably only took like a percent of 1% of that original course syllabus, just in terms of keeping some of the objectives the same. But as in terms of the course content, I really developed all of that from scratch. And I made it like a research project for myself. For this whole semester before, I was researching subject matter in this decision making uncertainty. I was reading books. I went to the library and checked out books. That's a thing, right? Looking at all the research that's been done within the past 5 years to keep the course relevant. So that truly was taking it from scratch. I'm not going to lie, it was one of the hardest things I've ever done, but I'm in semester 2 of teaching that class and it is going so well. So definitely you build, I think, the confidence by going through it. You don't have to have the confidence necessarily in order to start it. So that's just kind of like some general advice I would give. Like, give yourself a chance to start it. And if you fail, it's okay. You can have next semester to revamp it. But everyone has to get started somewhere, and you can get the materials given to you or you create it from scratch. It really depends on the situation.
Nice, thank you. Jade, how did you prepare to teach your first class?
Yeah, it's so interesting to listening to you guys because I'm so confined to my accounting and literally the bubble that I live with the, taxes, forecasts and all that. But I hear all these things and I'm just amazed that, so it's not only me then, I guess, that the feeling when you were in class in undergrad and you feel like, oh God, am I that I'm not saying that I'm not stupid, but then I feel like I'm not getting it. Why it's not clicking? What is going on? I'm spending all these hours on studying. That's one thing I always kept in mind when I was doing the syllabus, when I got the first opportunity. And I constantly, and Dr. Krishna can literally vouch for that. I constantly bugged her, can I do this? Can I do this? Because I've been in the industry for so long and all that brainstorming came so rushed into my head for an undergrad first tax class. I don't want anyone to feel like, oh my God, this thing is eating me up. No, it's just, oh, how do I make them feel like they're comfortable with the exam? And that fear of exam, right? That, oh my God, it's 45% of my grade. Whether I sink or swim, I'm probably gonna have to repeat the class. So all of that stuff. And I talked to some of my cohorts that are working in public accounting too, that do remember those days. And they told me that you're crazy to even go try this out. They literally told me that because, and I was like, no, I mean, at least I can try, I can attempt and see if I get a better result, which means how does it work in the field? Like, because it's so, black and white when you have these, debits and credits, and then you have all these tax laws and all these. But I incorporated the tax software in the class. Let's try to break it. All you can do, plug the numbers, it will probably give you some wrong numbers, but we can work on the group. I dropped down the midterms to only 20%, final exam only 20%. So I restructured the entire syllabus. Obviously, my predecessor, she has a PhD. Knowing that I'm feeling, I cannot feel that shoe, I know, but I can do the actual work, what you're about to get into, the field that you're about to get into. And that's why I think I'm so appreciative of my department chair to allowing me to do that, giving that opportunity and getting the feedback from the student. And first semester was the hardest. I started crying some days with the Scantron because I'm sitting there, I'm like, what am I doing wrong? And again, Dr. Bill, they were always, they were there at night. They would tell me, you're not doing it, just hang in there. And I will talk to the students. I'm like, look, guys, you guys have to understand something. It is how the world works, public accounting and the, tax accounting. It's not easy to understand, but we need to try different ways. Everybody learns different way, but having the fear of the exam, that already takes away the learning from you, So I felt like That one thing I tried doing the most, and restructuring, working in your group and making sure that you are asking questions, not being afraid, and creative stuff. All my tax cases on my government, I brought them in a shape or form. Like what happens when you get audited? Why are you even getting audited, right? Like those type of things. So then, yeah, that's what was the journey for undergrad, and same thing with the graduate program. But there was a lot more student were on the field, so that was different, because they're exposed to a lot of things. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Sounds like there's no blueprint. It's trial and error, and you see how it goes. And there's no like how to teach a course book or whatnot. I'm sure there is. But so we're gonna go to the next question. How do you balance a full-time job with teaching responsibilities? And George, could you speak to that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm not going to lie to anybody and say that it's easy because it's not. I think that as we'll probably get to, there's a lot more that goes into teaching than just being in class and grading some papers. It's a lot. I mean, I think you're hearing a lot of this from the other panelists. There's a lot of, pre-work that we're doing. There's a lot of, trying to tailor the material and trying to put it into a way of being able to be understood for all the different learning types. It's confusing. I teach finance. Finance is a confusing subject. It just is. It's not terribly intuitive to a lot of people. So there's a lot that goes into it to be able to do that. And I think, like many other things, I mean, I have a family, I have a wife, I have two kids. We all have numerous responsibilities. What I found is it's about being very disciplined and scheduling out my time to do different things. I have specific times that I know that I'm going to be, let's call it, I heard someone say day job. I'm at my day job. I'm doing what I need to do there. I go home. I am with my family. I'm a husband and a father. That's what I'm doing. And I make sure that I'm giving all to there. And then I schedule time to be able to, um, dedicate to preparing for class, grading class, answering questions, whatever it is that I need to do. There's no like secret recipe to it other than like you just have to make the time, sit down, schedule out what you need to do, and then follow your schedule. That's the best advice I can give.
Yeah, definitely, because it's two jobs, right, that you're doing, even being a part-time lecturer for sure. Catherine, how do you balance your full-time job, owning a company with teaching as well?
And two kids and also married. Yeah, trying to stay alive. I hear George on that in such a deep level. Well, Gerardo is one of my classmates and or one of the members of my class, and he can attest to I'm a big fan of time blocking. I talk to the class about time blocking, and I don't teach anything I don't actually do myself. I think that makes you a good parent too. So I love Stephen Covey's Seven Habits of Highly Successful People. I very rigorously time block out my schedule, but I also have a cheat code that I just plugged in for this course, and I am really loving it, which is I hired a chief of staff for my company, and I now have that chief of staff who can help me look at emails and all the other things because classes are needy. Like as you would expect, students need a lot of support and a lot of help, and I think that's for me the hardest part of teaching is staying on top of that because I have so many other things. The stuff I love is getting in front and telling the class and hearing their feedback and getting their input. But I hate admin work. I'm just not very good at it. And so I'm aware of my weaknesses. I've had enough time with them that I'm very aware of them. And so that's the cheat code I applied this semester, and it's been huge. I also qualified this semester for a TA, and I just experienced applying her on grading papers for the first time. And oh my gosh, that's another huge cheat code to my other fellow friendly professors. So cheat code unlocked.
Definitely. And again, time management doesn't end once you're in school, right? It's through life, all the time. So, Jade, how do you balance a full-time job with teaching?
Well, guys, public accounting, not gonna sugarcoat for you. You're doing about 60, 70 hours a week, during the busy season. But again, everything that you guys said, time management. I have calendars, everything blocked out, everything super organized. And this is not something that I just started doing it. I've been doing it for since I was born, probably, at that point, because, I have to make sure I'm doing everything at 24 hours a day. So there's only so much you can do, but what's the best way to do it? And I learn from my mistakes, like things that I could have done a little bit better. So the next time I do it, okay, now maybe I can, tweak a few things. Like you said, Catherine, the same thing with answering the question. I don't want to go through so much steps with the student when the question should have been answered when they understood. If you take too long, too deep, then they get more confused are coming out of the meeting than going into the meeting. So that was what I learned, the hard way, because I got the reflection. I can see their face. And that's one of those things when I was in person, I have my office to go and see them. I can catch it right away versus on online. Sometimes it's difficult to gauge that. So that time management is the office hours is the key. I feel no one wants to ask those questions during the class. But I know that because I was on the same seat, exact position not that long ago. So to me, it is, do I take the time on Saturday? But then I'm, managing some time with my family. So yeah, I mean, my spouse is very understanding. I have also two kids, 1 year and a 5-year-old, so they're jumping everywhere. But I'm just, trying to, get the 5 minutes so that way I can. So yeah, manage a lot on the cell phone now. I did more technology, apps type of stuff that I can, manage things a little bit better. So it's a process, and it's an ongoing process. And yeah,
Takes a support system for sure.
yeah.
Um, so today's students, there's a lot of, there's in-person class, online, a lot of distractions from students. I know I can't like, pay attention for more than 5 seconds sometimes too myself. And just wondering, how do you keep courses engaging and relevant to today's students? Kayla, um, how do you do that?
Yeah, I think you have to also kind of what Jide has been saying about like putting yourself in the student's shoes. Like we all have had professors that we loved and professors that maybe we would take a snooze or, it was just not engaging. And I feel for that, right? Because it's hard to be engaging, especially if you're teaching a class that's 2 hours and 45 minutes, right? An hour and 15-minute course kind of goes by quickly with the content that you have to go through, but nonetheless, you have to stay engaged. And I think one of the ways to do that is by like diversifying your course content. So you've seen like the Kahoots games, right? I wouldn't recommend doing a Kahoots game every single class, but switch it up, right? Add something there. I don't think there's ever a point where even as a lecturer, you stop learning. So I feel like our goals as lecturers, well, I'll speak for myself. My goal is to continuously learn and build in the field. When I started in 2021, there's so much new research that has been done in the field realistically by scholars and just continuously putting out this research that if I just stayed with the content that I started in 2021, I probably wouldn't have an engaged student audience, right? The memes are irrelevant. The YouTube videos that I include TikTok videos as just examples, right? They're irrelevant. We know a trend can fly out the door within a week. And so year to year, semester by semester, it's just not going to be relevant anymore. And so I think staying engaged in terms of the actual teaching methods that you're doing and then get creative. Again, we talked about like trial and error. Try something. It could work super successfully, or you could walk away from that class and go, I'm never going to do that activity again. One of the other ways, and you're all students, so I know with AI, using AI with your courses is probably something that you do, right? For my communications courses, I can't rely on students to just write papers with AI. So that means I've had to drastically change my communication courses to do more in-class activities. That's like, hey, take out a half sheet of paper and write out your thoughts for this. And that's what they do. They turn in half sheets of paper with scribbled out notes and thoughts because it's an immediate way to get engaged. But again, I probably didn't have to worry about that, 10 years ago if I taught, because just of the rapid change with AI. So constantly feel like you have to grow. You have to grow to stay relevant if you want the engagement for your students. If you don't, then you could probably just get away with the same way you've been doing it. But for my teaching philosophy, I have to continue to grow and learn alongside the students. So something that I've found useful.
Yeah. So it also seems like you're constantly evolving and your materials evolving as well. Charles, how do you keep your courses engaging and relevant to today's students?
Exactly. And yes, building upon what was just said, and you start out, maybe the tendency in the beginning as you're getting into it for the first time, that kind of thing. You're going to find yourself gravitating more to instructor-led type lectures and things like that. But that only gets you so far. You'll start having people nod off in the back of the room. Students won't show up to every class, that kind of thing. So you want to get past that. So what you do is you try to do a blend and you vary up, mix up things. There is some instructor-led things you're going to have to do. There's certain deliverables that you got to teach them. What you also want to be is a bridge, though. What is this academic stuff that, they're having to read and take tests on? How does that relate to the real world? That's the end of the day. And if you're able to translate what that means to them, that's very important. And then you also want to have student-centric type learning activities as well. So there's going to be things that we do as individuals, back and forth, discussion, things like that. There's group type things we're going to do. We're going to do some scenario-based things where I'm going to get them to think through the process and explain how they're getting to the solutions. And we're going to do some problem solving, some other things. We're going to do it in a variety of ways. In the modern class, especially in the current last couple semesters, everyone's coming with a laptop and they want to just engage with the laptop. And in the past, whether it was on a piece of paper or a laptop, the first thing you wanted to do was try to record or write down every single thing you're saying. I'm like, let's get past that. There's the stuff you're going to need. I'm going to give my lecture already given to you. I'm not big on 3 hour recordings, but I will take a transcript and give them that and say, look, let's talk about these things and you'll learn from some of that. But what you're worried about writing down what I'm saying, I'm going to give that to you already. You're going to have that. Let's go and analyze these things. And what does that mean to you? And having more of a dialogue. The more personalization, humanization you can bring to it also. I'm not, especially me, I'm an older person, from a generation standpoint, it's hard and it's more of a challenging over time to connect with my main audience, which, is again 20, 30 years younger than me. But I also have people from all walks of life. So, reaching out, spending some time in the beginning of the course, not diving heavy into the material, getting icebreakers, doing some things to get to know each other to build some element of trust. Once you have that and they get accustomed to your consistency of how you deliver content to them, you build that rapport, you have a loyal, and you got to gauge the room. So when things aren't working, mix it up yourself. And so sometimes it's me talking, sometimes it's them presenting, sometimes it's video time, sometimes it's game time, make it, that way. And the last part on engaging, the main thing is that while I do teach the publisher required materials, I don't build the curriculum myself, but I have the academic freedom to be able to deliver content in the ways I think best and engage assessments and design assessments the way I think best. So the department has trust in my ability to deliver the student learning outcomes. And with that, then I can build and design real world applications. And within real estate, it's pretty easy. When you're doing this work for 20 years, it's second nature. And keeping up professionally with my own development and make sure it's cutting edge kind of thing using modern tools and technology and stuff like that. And on the business side too, leveraging the technology both with publisher platforms that most colleges use, like Cengage, McGraw-Hill, but also using the learning management system at the community college level in California. Everyone's Canvas now. So while we used to use other learning management tools, this is Canvas, and keeping up to speed on how we can leverage that tool and all the cool apps and things you can utilize. Because I teach both in class and online. And there's challenges in both modalities. But for me, I love being in front of people and an audience. It's showtime. And your attitude and how you bring, your way of doing things and building that rapport. that gets the engagement.
Definitely. Thank you. Well, I'm ready for you all to be my teachers. Sounds like you have great classes. So in an interest of time, we'll have our last question. But what steps should students or alumni take now if they're interested in lecturing in the future? So I'll start with George. What steps do you think students or alumni should take?
Yeah, I mean, it's again a common thread that I think has carried through all of the conversation here. Really, establish those relationships with the folks at the colleges, wherever it is that you're interested in teaching. Really talk to those professors, understanding kind of how they got into it, what they enjoy, what the challenges are, things like that. And really just, make it known that if it's something you want to do, you got to let people know that that's what you want to do. Put it out there to the world and, be persistent. It might take you a little while to get there, but if you keep up with it, you can get there.
And even if students have graduated, going back and asking for like an informational and, like kind of maybe if alumni on the call is like, oh, I wasn't so involved, like, kind of doing that same advice, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. Just anything that you can do to stay involved, kind of keep your face on in front of people, as bad as that sounds. Actually, something that I know that Cal State Long Beach had me do that I wasn't anticipating, but I had to turn in letters of recommendation as well. So, in order to get some of those things, you have to have some pretty good relationships and people that know kind of who you are, what you can do, and people that will vouch for you. So, networking, networking, networking. I would say that's kind of the biggest thing that I could say to do now.
Awesome. Thank you. Catherine, what steps do you think students should take now if they're interested in lecturing, for getting that job or preparing to be a lecturer?
I think it's really about adding value. And sorry, guys, I'm a marketer. Like that's just what I focus on. But it's true. Like I think networking is awesome. Sometimes it's hard. I'm not a natural networker, but like I'm really great at learning, and I'm really great at trying to find what's in it for the other person on the other side. Because I'm a marketer, right? And so think about it this way: all of us are sitting in a call right now, and we're looking at all of our pictures. How many people do you think you've been in a call with who know that you want to teach? And it's like when you think about it that way, it's like, oh, duh, like I need to go tell people. But like, you know what I'm saying? Like it wasn't known for me either. Like I was shy about it and I didn't really say anything about it until I finally was like, you know what? This is something I really want to do and I know I'd be good at it. So I had a break a little bit in my schedule where I had some more free time and I just started volunteering my time. And so I think if you're focused on something, you add value, and you can let people know as you're adding value. Law of reciprocity, psychology of influence, people will want to help you.
Definitely putting it out there. So, Charles, any advice for people that want to become lecturers in terms of applying or the pedagogy behind it?
Yeah, I don't want to sugarcoat it. There's two ways to get into a teaching at community college. One way is we use this word networking. And what is networking? Networking is an opportunity that can get you quicker, faster, more easier access than making an application to what we've mentioned before, the pool. When it comes to positions, there's not a lot of positions that open all the time. Not even every year do new positions open. And I'm only talking part-time. Full-time, that's a whole other conversation to get a tenured position. But when it comes to part-time lecturer, at the beginning, departments, and I don't want to discourage anyone, but business departments are very cautious about bringing on new faculty. Okay, so obviously got to be outgoing, you got to have passion for it, things like that. For anyone that's out there as a student, if you can, again, target where you want to teach and learn about that school and be passionate about teaching that community, that's important, okay? Also, if you've already went to undergrad or whatever at a particular, especially at a community college, it's a big plus because hiring alumni is a little bit easier in that road as well. Obtaining letters of recommendation. Okay. If you can get one of your past professors, or if someone that you know in your network is teaching at an institution you're targeting, that's huge. Okay. Applications are taken all the time by school districts, and they'll put them in a pool, which is basically an inbox that waits for up to a year or more. And if they need someone, they'll sift through. Unfortunately, that pile of inbox applications can number in the 50 or hundreds. And it's amazing. I didn't realize in our society how many MBA students are interested in getting a teaching job because you find out from the department secretary that there's literally piles of it, and they spend about 5 seconds on everyone's resume and they filter it down to about three or four that they'll interview. So that's the reality of it. So again, what I said, there's two ways. You can put applications out, rifle them out to 100 institutions, wait for a call back. But the main thing I would do is target with letters of recommendation. Um, if you like a school, talk to their department, whatever your specialization is. See if you can become a guest lecturer for a day, do a presentation. I mean, teachers love to do that. We love to have people that have, field experience or good fresh academic experience and come do help do a lecture for a day and get yourself known, and that can also be very helpful.
Thank you. Thank you. What you talk about reminds me a lot about jobs, right? You can apply online, sit in a hole, it's a black hole, but networking gets you in front of people. So, Kayla, any final advice for teaching?
Yeah, I think definitely what everyone has said, like absolutely 100% agree what the other panelists have said. I think something different too is just evaluate your own, like what do you envision for yourself when you think of teaching? Because like for me, my boundaries are 2 classes maximum a semester. I know I can't do more. I've done 3 with full time, and that was a full time job that was a little bit more flexible than the one I have now. Now I teach 1 class a semester and I know I can handle 2. That would be my max. So also make that clear when you're applying to, like I'm willing to teach up to 2 classes and no more. So they can kind of get an idea, okay, great, we only need 1 class filled. That's perfect. If they're looking for someone who could teach 4 or 5 different courses, they might not choose you because they want someone who can teach all of those classes. Again, it's scenario based too. But then also evaluate, do you want to go teach because you simply like spreading knowledge and you want to be in the classroom in that way? Or do you want to teach because you want to go back and do research? I feel like they're very different avenues. Even as adjunct lecturers, we know that some tenure faculty, they're required to do research. That's kind of like the, hey, you're teaching for us, but you're also requiring to do research. You don't necessarily have to at the adjunct level, but I would say that determining if you know that's what you want to do, one avenue or the other, is also going to help you communicate that to the department. Hey, not only do I want to teach your introduction to public speaking course, I have extensive research in this and I want to contribute research to this department. I see that you have an organizational leadership program or communication. There's one, current class. I want to contribute research to that class. Can I work with that current faculty member to do research? Can we utilize students to do research? So that also just kind of makes you stand out because you have a very clear alignment with what you're anticipating your teaching experience to be. And the department chairs or program directors, whoever's hiring you, they'll be able to kind of gauge their decision towards that as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Kayla. And Jade, let's take us home. What advice do you
Yeah,
have?
everything you guys said, extremely, I agree 100%. One thing I want to add in like we all of us here on the panel, we have a day job and we have this, adjunct position. But my main planning was even when I was in undergrad, the whole time, 18 year, I've been working in accounting, but not just accounting. What type of accounting? Public sector, private sector, state sector, federal sector. So to me was like, I want to get the variety of experience. How does the whole flow works? And that's what eventually, Dr. Krishna obviously asked me these questions like, okay, how do you want to approach it? I would ask her the same question, but each class is different. But when you go teach somebody, a matter subject, you need to know the flow, how each of these pieces will work. Because I've been there on the trenches. I've been even now. I have a screen of tax return in my other screen, pretty much. I can see it, what's going on. But I'm just telling you guys the reality. You need to know the trenches. You have to be willing to take that, hit, and it could be and again, the approach is that's my reality. This is what I love to do. You have to love what you do. That's the only way you would be able to show somebody who barely getting into this field or already struggling. They may be taking this program, but they're like, well, I just want the degree. But why? Why would you want to do this? What is the next step? I have few students, several students last semester. With my networking and state, I was able to get their resumes passed through. But I was there, no longer there, but doesn't make any difference because I had the network built with the managers that I work with. So to me, it's like it makes sense for them. And it makes sense for me that it's a lifelong relationship, right? And that's what you guys all said. So I feel like as an adjunct, that's the value that we add. We're in the field. We are in the field and we're basically living and breathing through it every day and day out. So, and that's why I appreciate that so much for my faculties, the adjunct faculties who took that extra time, took that extra, 25 minutes to show me what they're doing on their software. They didn't have to, but they did, but that made a difference of my career, literally. So that's how I feel like again, I use the word to owe to the school. I feel like I am in debt to my school for the rest of my life because I feel this is why I'm here right now. And if I can do help one student, it would be a blessing to me. You know what I mean? So that's all, guys.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you again for our panelists for sharing your experience, your insight, the struggles as well of being a part-time lecturer. We really do appreciate it. In the